All right, so for these two problems up here, we're going to do them by graphing like it says. This one, you are given a graph, so you can literally see that the solution set is 3, -3, and also -1, 4. Remember, you are not looking for x-intercepts, you're looking for where the graphs intersect, and you can put these in any order. Here you're going to have to solve for y so you can graph them. So this bottom equation, it's easy to move that 2x squared over. This is -2x squared plus 3. So it'll be an upside down parabola with 3 as its highest point. All right, we'll graph on the calculator. Over here, I'm going to move that 16 to the other side, turns into a positive 16. And I'm going to take away x. So this will turn into x squared. This will be -8x. And the 16 on the end. All right, so from there, that's a parabola facing up. So from there, we're just going to go and graph it on the calculator. All right, so -2x squared plus 3. And the second one, x squared minus 8x plus 16. And we're just looking for like a little sketch of these things. Remember, zoom 6 turns it back into the regular picture. All right, so there's this one crossing at 3, and kind of looks like it's crossing at 1, so I'll go ahead and put that one there. Okay, the other one is over here at 4. All right, and coming up, but when you look at it, they're not touching. So that would be no solution. But if you did have to do this on your calculator, so let me move this around a little bit. So I'm going to change this one right here. I'm just going to change a little bit to be like a plus 8x. And then they're going to cross each other. Oh, no, they're not, because this will be on the other side. So let me just change it to like, let me think for a second. Let me just make it, let's see, plus 2 and then put a 4 over here. So you don't have to, I'm just like doing this so I can show you the steps. Oh my God. So it's up a little too high, so I'm going to just make it like a 1. All right, here we go. So these two, finally, they intersect. So remember, the steps in your calculator are to press second and then calculate and then choose number 5. And basically you just press enter, enter, enter. So those meet at an awful point, but that's fine. You just round it off and write it down. Then we'll do second, calculate, number 5. And we had to move the eyeball closer to the other point. And then once we get there, enter, enter, enter. Okay, so that would be the other point. And usually they're going to be nice points, but whatever. Okay, so here, solve this quadratic equation by factoring. So if I'm going to factor, I got to put it in standard form. So I got a plus 6x over here. I got to take away 2. All right, so I have 2x squared plus 11x plus 14. All right, so if I'm going to factor, they don't all divide by anything, so I'm just going to start factoring. 2x and x. What multiplies 14? Maybe I'll try 7 and 2. So I'd have to put the 2 here and the 7 there and see if that works. 4 and 7, yep, 11, if everything's positive. So my factors are 2x plus 7 and x plus 2, which means my zeros are my solutions. What makes this 0 is -2. And the other one is going to be -7 over 2. Remember, you set them equal to 0 in your mind. Okay, over here, same thing I'm going to do by factoring. So I want to bring this 6x squared over. So I'm going to have 1x squared. I have a minus 10x. And this 25 is just going to pop over and become plus 25. So when I factor that, they don't all have a GCF or anything. So x and x, 5 and 5 is going to work. And that adds up to 10 as well if they're both negative. So my only answer I'm going to get is 5. It's a double root, right? All right, down here, we're going to use the square root method. So I'm going to take away 76. My goal is to get the x squared alone. So I have 4x squared equals negative 72. Divide by 4. That's going to make x squared equals negative 18. All right, so after that, I know I'm going to have an I in my answer. I'm going to take my square root of both sides. So I'm going to plus or minus. I'm going to have an I. Now 18 breaks into 9 times 2, so it's going to be 3i with a radical 2 as my final answer. Okay. Over here, let's see, the solutions and the factors. So my solutions with the one picture are my x-intercepts. So my solutions are negative 1 and 2, which means my factors are x plus 1 and x minus 2. All right, down here with our discriminant. All these equations are all in standard form, so I'm ready to do my discriminant. Is b squared, so that's 49 minus 4 times 3 times 4 as a and c. So remember, the discriminant is the part underneath the radical in the quadratic formula. All right, so if you did that, put that in your calculator. 12 times 4 is 49 minus 48. That's going to equal 1. All right. Here I'm going to get 144 b squared minus 4 times a is 4 and c is 9. So it's going to come out to 0. All right, again, you just type that straight into your calculator. And if you need to type in the 12 squared, make sure you put parentheses, negative 12 squared minus 4 times a is 4 and c is 9. Right? And so you get 0. All right, here I get 9 minus 4 times a is 1 and c is 7. So that's going to get me 9 minus 28. So let's see, that's negative 19. All right, so this is what's underneath the radical. If you have a 1 underneath the radical, you're going to go about your business and you're going to have 2 real solutions. Okay, one using the plus, one using the minus in the quadratic formula. Okay. If you have a 0 underneath the radical, that means that you're going to lose the need for a plus or minus. Like, why would you put plus or minus 0? It just doesn't do anything. So your only answer is going to be whatever negative b over 2a produces. So that is just one real solution. And if your discriminant is negative, that means you're going to have 0 real solutions. You basically have 0 real, basically you're 2 imaginary. That's the same thing. Okay. All right, on the back side here, got some regular problems, and we have a couple flashback problems here. But here, let's use a quadratic formula. I'm going to have to move this negative 6 over, so my standard form is 3x squared minus 4x plus 6, because that way I see my a, b, and c true to what they are. So 3, negative 4, and 6. So my discriminant is b squared, so that's 16 minus 4 times 3 times 6. All right, so let's see. So I got 16 minus 4 times 3 times, times 6. All right, so I got negative 56. So that tells me that I'm going to have an I in my solution here. So my solution is negative b. Opposite of that would be 4 plus or minus the square root of negative 56 all over 2 times 3, which is 6. Now 56 is even, so you divide it by 2 and you get 28. Okay, so 28 times 2, and 28 is 14 times 2, right? And this right here is 7 times 2, but that's not really that helpful. I'm just going to take out this pair of 2's and leave a 14 inside, because 7 and 2 don't give me any other pairs. So this is 4 plus or minus 2 radical 14, but it's going to be 2i radical 14 because the negative over 6. These three numbers all divide by 2, so my final answer will be 2 plus or minus I radical 14 all over 3 was my final answer. All right, over here, some stuff to clean up. I got to add 3x. So I can only use a quadratic formula if everything's together. So I have x squared plus, let's see, minus 2x minus 6 was by the time I'm done. All right, so my a is 1, b is negative 2, c is negative 6. So my discriminant is b squared. So negative 2 squared would be 4 minus 4 times a is 1 and c is negative 6. Right, so it comes out to 28. All right, nice positive discriminant. So my answer, I'm going to have big fraction. Opposite of negative 2 is 2, plus or minus radical 28. 28 is going to break down into 4 times 7, so that's going to be 2 radical 7 over 2 times a, so 2. So I'll rewrite this as 2 plus or minus 2 radical 7 all over 2. And all these divide by 1, right? I mean, divide by 2. So my final answer is 1 plus or minus. I could put a 1 here, but I don't need it. And I could put a 1 here, but I don't need it. So there's my answer. Or 2 answers, that is. All right, a little flashback here, finding the inverse. So remember, to find the inverse, you reverse the x and the y. So first, I would like you to remember that this really f of x is like y. It's y equals 2x plus 8. So to find the inverse, you reverse the x and the y. You make it x equals 2y plus 8. And then you resolve it for y. So take away 8. So I have x minus 8 equals 2y. Then I'm going to divide all the parts by 2. So that's going to be 1/2 x minus 4 equals y. So don't forget to write it properly. Inverse notation. F negative 1 of x equals 1/2 x minus 4. Okay, over here, absolute value equations. So let's go ahead and clean this up. Got to add 5. Remember, I have to get the absolute value alone. So I have 2 with x plus 4 equals 22. And divide by 2. So x plus 4 now equals 11. All right, break it into 2 problems. X plus 4 equals 11, or x plus 4 equals negative 11. Okay, so from here, take away 4, we get 7. And here, take away 4, we get negative 15. Okay, so there's my 2 answers. Solution set would be 7, comma, negative 15. Probably negative 15 is first since it's smaller. All right, last little bit here. So we're doing operations with I. So the big thing to remember here is that I squared equals negative 1 if it ever appears. Square root of negative 1 is just I. And the rest of them you can find on your calculator, but we'll see what we need. All right, so 3 times 2 this is multiplication. So I get 6. Here it gets plus 15i. On the inside I get minus 8i. And then here I get minus 20i squared. Remember, I squared, that's worth negative 1. So I have 6. This makes plus 7i. And look, I have a negative 1 times a negative 20. So that's a positive 20. So my final answer would be 26 plus 7i. Okay, here the 2 is going to wait. I'm going to multiply this out. So I get minus 14i. And then here I get minus 28i squared. So again, I squared, that's worth a negative 1. So I have 2 minus 14i. It's going to be plus 28. So my final answer would be 30 minus 14i. All right, I to the 39th. So remember to do this on your calculator. You're going to press math. You're going to go over to number. You're going to do I part, number 3. Then you do your I, oopsie, your I with just a decimal key, power, what is it, 39? 39. All right, you don't have to close the parentheses, so it's negative I. All right, right here, we got 4i. This is worth 5i. And then times, this is a 3. So that's 20 times 3, that's 60, and I squared. Well, I squared is negative 1, so the final answer is negative 60. All right, the last 2 over here, we're going to solve by substitution. So this is ready to go. I'm going to take all of this and plug it in for y right here. So I'm going to have x squared plus 3x minus 5 plus 2x equals 9. So let's clean this up. I got x squared. This is going to be plus 5x minus 5 equals 9. Let's take away the 9, bring it over. So I have x squared plus 5x minus 14 equals 0. So I'm going to go and factor that. So I'll always give you ones that factor, or you can solve by square roots. I'm not going to make you do quadratic formula here. So when I factor that, I get 7 and 2. Yep, so plus 7 minus 2, everything works out, to the 5 and the negative 14. So my answers are negative 7 and 2. So these are the beginnings of the answers. So one of the answers begins with negative 7, and the other answer begins with a 2. So I have to plug these back in to find my solution. So I would normally say, hey, let's plug -7 into this. It's already solved for y. But I think this one's a little easier, right? If I solve this for y, it becomes -2x plus 9. It's a lot easier to plug numbers into that. So if you put a -7 in here, -2 times -7 is 14. 14 plus 9 is 23. And then plug a 2 in here. I get -4 plus 9, so 5. So there's your solutions. And I suppose you could always graph these and check them on the calculator. Right here. So this y right here, I'm going to plug it in right there. So I get 5x squared. And if one of these wasn't already solved for y, I would do that first and then plug it into the other one. Let's see. Plus, I'm going to plug this in. 4x squared minus 46 equals -10. So I just wrote that problem and I replaced this with this expression. So when I look at that, I'm like, okay, 9x squared minus 46 equals -10. So this problem does not have a little x. It doesn't have one of these center terms right here. So I'm just going to do square roots. I'm going to add 46 and get 9x squared equals 36. I'm going to divide by 9. So I get x squared equals 4. And when I do my square root, I get x equals plus or minus 2. Don't forget plus or minus. So one answer starts with 2. The other end starts with -2. All right, so I think I'll just plug it right in here. 2 squared is 4. 4 times 4 is 16. 16 minus 46 is going to be 30. -30. And when I plug in -2, the same thing happens because I get -2 squared, which is 4. 4 times 4 is 16. And 16 minus 46 is going to be -30. All right. And there you have it. Bye-bye.